Well, our guest today is Tara Reade, who is coming to our show from Russia, where she is seeking political asylum. She is also seeking safety from the United Nations because her and her lawyers claim that her human rights have been compromised by the United States and the federal government, which is weaponizing the Justice Department in order to, I guess, how would we put it? Politically attack her because she has come forward with her sexual allegations from President Joe Biden from 1993. So thank you so much for joining me today, Tara. I know the news today is that your lawyer has sent an email to Representative Jim Jordan volunteering to testify about the persecution you've suffered for the Select Subcommittee on the Weaponization of the federal government. So, how are you? This seems like a big turn of events, and what can you tell us about it?
Well, hi. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I watch it. You're one of my main news sources, so I'm really
Oh,
hopeful other
thank you.
people are supportive too. Your show's fantastic, you and Clayton, and the work that you're doing to bring truth. All I can say is last time we were here, it was like a pipe dream. I could testify before Congress, and then Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene made that a reality, not only to testify about my case and what happened when I was a staffer for Joe Biden and was sexually assaulted, to get that investigated and looked at, but also things evolved and changed, as you all know, because you've been covering it, with the weaponization of the DOJ and the FBI against US citizens, including myself. And there's a subcommittee hearing on it, led by Jim Jordan. And so my attorneys, as you mentioned, have signaled to them that I am willing to testify under oath, remotely, because I am in Moscow, Russia now. And I have sought asylum. I do have temporary asylum.
Hmm.
I'm waiting for all the paperwork to be completed. And I am seeking citizenship in Russia. So yes, this was a very sudden turn of events, and yeah, I'll let you
Well, one of the
comment on that
things
part.
that the Democratic Party had come out and attacked you about was that you were some sort of secret Russian spy. But as you detail in your book, the persecution of you just got hotter and hotter when you reported this when it happened. And it should go on record that you didn't just come out with this in 2019 during the election. You had been reporting it all along. There are clips
Mhm,
of, is it your mother who was on Larry King in the 90s
mhm.
asking for how to support
Yeah.
her child who was sexually assaulted in
Mhm,
Washington, D.C.? Like, the proof has
mhm.
been a long paper trail. This is not just something that was come out in order to bring down the Bidens. And so,
Yeah.
what's my question here? I guess, can you can you respond to the allegations that you were put up to this by Russia all along, and then, oh, conveniently, you're in Russia?
Yeah, no, that's a myth. And to be really complete, in 2019, when I came forward, I was writing a novel that included Russia from the United States. I was born in Monterey County, California. I grew up in Wisconsin on a farm. I have no ties to Russia, at all, political or otherwise. I have always been fascinated by international relations and geopolitics. So I was doing a novel and I was working and researching that. And I had some opinions that differed from the ones that were being put forth from 2016 on, the Russophobia and all that, which really started heating up in 2016 on. That They pulled those clips after I came forward about Joe Biden, as if, and it was just kind of a switch and bait. It was so people would look at that rather than the fact that Joe Biden had been inappropriate, with many women, not just me, because I was one of 8 women that came forward, as you might recall. And I was the one with the sexual assault allegations. But there are other women who have been too frightened to come forward because they've seen the amount of harassment and vitriol that's been coming at me from the Democratic leadership. That really heated up. I mean, they accused me of perjury. If you recall, last time I was on your show, I had to get lawyers. I was an expert witness for domestic violence victims. They said I lied about my education under oath. I was threatened with up to 30 years in prison and a criminal investigation. All of that was dropped. I never lied about my education. So then they came at me with that sealed warrant, from the DOJ and FBI, which we can talk about in a minute. But it's just been constant, one thing after another, to try to silence me and suppress the story. But it's not just happening to me, it's happening to other people who are trying, journalists who are trying to bring truth, independent journalists trying to bring truth about some of the political things that are happening right now. And the Biden administration, I think, has turned into actually a regime. It's using almost fascist techniques to silence and suppress information.
Now, one of the things that you've also done is sought an appeal under the UN special procedures from a human rights
Hmm.
rapporteur. This is the same thing that Julian Assange did in 2018 when he was facing extradition and facing expulsion from the Ecuadorian consulate. Is he went to a rapporteur and said, "Look into this because I am being threatened with encroachment," meaning you are sent back to where you come from and it's dangerous for you there. The United Nations rapporteur, their success rate, I think, for like solving these things is in the 10% or something like that. So, do
Or
you have
less.
expectations? That's according to the rapporteur who was working on the
Mhm.
Assange case. So, what is your expectations for that process?
Well, you bring up a good point. It doesn't seem very hopeful, does it? My hope is that maybe even EU members like Claire Daly or Mick Wallace will comment on it, or maybe a UN member state might get involved. But at this point, I think legally what has to happen is the special rapporteur has to make an inquiry to the U.S. State Department and say, hey, what's up with this? And what do you have on this? Because we have been trying FOIAs, we have been trying to get that sealed case opened. We're trying to find out about the red notices from Interpol that were supposedly at the border. And we're just getting stonewalled. My attorneys are, and so have journalists actually that have tried to look into it. So I think this mechanism might hopefully bring some transparency, but I think you're right. It's kind of it's not always very effective in this day and age right now.
And so, do you think Representative Jim Jordan is receptive to a testimony on this?
I have not received any answer from him directly. The only members of Congress that have engaged me has been Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene. I know that Matt Gaetz' special counsel was open to me doing this, and they are still opening, but they're not planning on having me testify as long as I'm in Moscow, Russia. That was the last I heard. So
Okay,
we're trying to say, hey, look, why can't I testify remotely? Why can't I have a statement put in? Because I
right.
am a citizen, a whistleblower that's being silenced. I mean, I had to seek safety and asylum in another country.
Yeah,
That says everything right there.
right. I guess this is kind of an obvious question, but I want to ask it. Do you want to be there?
Right now, okay, this is the thing. When I came here, I was on vacation for 7 days. So, and I was telling, Clayton and you, I think, earlier that I had a suitcase with 7 days worth of clothes, not even a coat. And so I don't have many of the things that I need with me right now. And that's a bit of a challenge because I can't get mail here.
My understanding is
So
you're gonna need a coat in Russia.
yeah, I am gonna need a coat. So I came here for the book. My book was given to an international publishing house here in Moscow that was going to translate it in several languages, including Russian, and redistribute it with 3 additional chapters. And then they accepted another book. The manuscript's due in the fall, and I was so excited about all that. So I thought I was going to go home. There was a family event I was to attend that happened last week, and some other things because my daughter's going to be getting married next year. So I had a lot of plans this summer with around family and events, and I was looking forward to an easier schedule because I was just going to have a writing schedule. And yeah, and then I was given information that I couldn't go home.
Yeah,
So, and I don't want to get too emotional, but I can't tell you what it's like to not know when I'm going to see my daughter,
yeah,
my family, my friends, and my pets. So it's been an adjustment. As far as like here, people here have been lovely to me. I have no complaints. I mean, they're treating me so well. I have enough to eat. I'm okay. I have enough to, I have a place to sleep. I have a safe place to be. I have work that I can do, some writing work and all of that. So, that's all positive. I was looking forward to coming back and forth between Russia and the United States, like Scott Ritter and other people do.
Yeah.
But apparently that option wasn't allowed for me um, under, these circumstances. And so I'm a little emotional, but I'm also super angry because, Joe Biden he's destroyed my life in 1993 and then in 2019 and then again. And I just feel like,
Yeah.
when does it end? And it's not just him because he seems barely coherent, but like his team around him, they're operating with such impunity that I feel like I keep having to say something because I'm not the only citizen being singled out and being oppressed. I mean, he's taking out his political opponent. I didn't vote for Donald Trump. I'm not a Republican, but this is, it's startling how America is, basically just been hijacked
Yeah.
by the military industrial complex.
Because you are an inconvenient narrative around
Yeah.
something that we don't want to see nuance around.
Yeah.
And, for those of you who think like, oh, this is just, the Democrat side of what they do to Trump, well, read her book because she has a long list of reaching out for help from day one after this abuse. And so this is not just she was trotted out by somebody. Obviously, you're not being a pawn to someone else's agenda because you're alone in this other than your own lawyers. It's reminiscent of, did you see The Americans? The
I
show?
did.
You know
Some
how
of it,
the
yeah.
woman Martha has to just be carted off to Russia, and then they sort of treat her
Mhm.
as like, look, she's just dropped there. She has to figure out her life, right? Because she was
Yeah.
weaponized. Yeah, and
Mhm.
so it's heartbreaking, and I want for you whatever you want for yourself, and hopefully there is an appetite to stop using the federal government as a weapon.
I think you're right. I think, and the more that your show and other shows can bring attention to this weaponization, Matt Taibbi has done some fine work really exposing it. But nothing's really changing. I know Jim Jordan's got this subcommittee going where they're investigating it. It's being exposed. Adam Schiff has just been censured, I believe, but he's making a joke of it. Like he's acting like it's no big deal. But really, I mean, I feel lucky that I'm alive. I mean, one of the things that Matt Gaetz said to me is he said, Tara, I'm very concerned about your physical safety in the United States. So it wasn't just about, walking into a cage.
Hmm.
And the fact that this could happen to me, I want to tell my fellow citizens this could happen to you. It could happen to any of us, any of us. If we push back against the narrative or we have a truth to tell that they don't like, I mean, the amount of resources they've expended is startling to
Yeah, I can
silence
only
this.
imagine. I can only imagine. Well, thank you for telling your story to our audience, and hopefully, we do get to hear this in Congress, and there's an appetite to, seek out justice because it can't be equal protection under the law, equal justice under the law. That is the intention of the Justice Department. It does not seem to be functioning that way. So, thank you for keeping in touch, and I wish you liberty. I wish you
Thank
liberty.
you.
Yeah.
Same to
Okay.
you. It was good talking to you. Take
Yeah,
good care.
always a pleasure. Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Bye.
Thank you so much for watching this segment here at Redacted. We are live every day at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, trying to share the stories that the mainstream media will not cover. You should also come over and join our community of Redacted Rebels over at redacted.inc. That's our private locals community where we can share exclusive content that we simply cannot share here on YouTube. Come over and join the rebellion together right now by going to redacted.inc. We'll see you next time.